Hello there folks, I'm Dan Brown from asortofinterestinglife.com and today we are going to take a look into my art journal. This is the first time that I've ever done any art journaling and the first time that I've used paints and things like that for a very long time. I did at one point have a phase of trying to do acrylic on canvas sort of little pictures and things, but I've gone through all sorts of different mixed media, tried a few collages, acrylic paint, watercolours and just general plain old pen, pencil and paper. So we're going to dive into this and have a quick look. Although I think because the light, oh yeah, if you're unfamiliar with my videos, which many of you finding me through art journaling maybe, then I do live on a little narrowboat, so that's why this is such a very odd background if you're unfamiliar with them. Yeah, like you say, because it's a bit of a weird light at the minute and we're expecting a thunderstorm to roll in at any second, I think I may well do the actual flip through of the pages somewhere else where we've got a little bit more light. Before we dive in properly, I do just want to show you this is my little desk that I have on the boat where I do a lot of writing at, and obviously all of my arty stuff as illustrated by all of the random things that are around here. So that's the art journal. I also have my Midori, which is what I use as a general diary and journal. And oh yes, just on the note of Dan's art journal, yes, it is very pink. But I'm not too fussed, and as long as it's got paper on the inside, I'm happy to write in it. Without further ado, let's get stuck in. So, as we've already established, Dan's art journal, yes, it is very pink. Got a few little spots of paint getting on it here, so it's starting to look the part. Look the art, if you will. Now this is, I'm going to say once again, my first time at trying to do something like this, and the first time that I've dealt with proper paints and things for a very, very long time. So please forgive me and don't expect the world's greatest artwork to be contained in here. So the very first thing that I did was just this totally abstract random thing. I've talked in the past about how I like to try and blend colours, and I've done a few general little acrylic on canvas things where it's been like sunsets over the sea, that sort of simple idea where I just try and merge different colours over the page. So I started doing that with the green just because I enjoyed the colour of it, and then for some reason just randomly thought, be happy, that sounds a good enough sentiment to me. And I don't know if you can see if we bring this close up, but these pieces here are separate pieces from a little sort of almost like a canvas sketchbook, if that makes sense, where it was basically just sheets of canvas. So I stuck those, well, gave them a good painting first, so then when I cut them out it would have this perfect straight edge to it, and then painted the words or the letters on top. So that's a nice simple one to start us off with. And like I say, I just really wanted over these first couple of weeks of doing this sort of thing to get into the spirit of it and just to try all sorts of different things. So we've got watercolours, acrylic, collages and all sorts of general bits and pieces. Now this here, I may have to pick the camera up to show you properly. Yes, I think that's probably a good idea. Now this is my very simple collage idea. This is an old canal map, which as you can see it's still got some of my various little annotations and things on them. And basically this was the map that I had when I first bought my boat and fetched it home into the region, so that's why it's got all these random things scribbled on it. But I also used a little bit of tape to create hinges to add on these extended pieces, and this is the home canal really. This is my hometown Oswestry there, Croesuswollt in Welsh underneath. And this is where I've grown up and spent all of my life basically. So all of this canal are the sort of places that I used to go out walking all of the time, and well, I still do. So that's just a nice simple thing, and got a few various cuttings and things from one of the Towpath newspapers, Towpath Talk I think this one was. So I just generally started cutting and sticking different little bits on. And I just thought that's a nice little memento because the map was so tatty and torn that I had to replace it. And I thought, you know what, let's not throw it out, let's try and find a much better, more useful use for it. And yeah, there you have it. That's the very first point that I marked as a good mooring spot out at Welshampton there. Lovely stuff. Now here we've got another one of my failed ideas. This was intended to be one entire picture to begin with, and I was going to basically put the constellation Orion in there. You can see it flicked various little specks of white paint over it, and then some slightly bigger ones with a little dash of colour to represent some of the deep sky objects and star clusters. I'm very much into my astronomy, I'll just point that out. So I tried to make a accurate star chart basically of the Orion constellation. That's why you've got little things hanging around here as well. And this was intended to be a 2-page thing. You can see you've got blue on the back there and purple on that one. Didn't realise at the time I was using metallic paint on the purple, so it gives it either a very dark purple look, or when it gets into the sunlight properly, it has a much more brighter, more vibrant pink look. And basically the plan was that was going to be on both pieces. And I thought when I started to lay out these little things, these I used are hole punches to get the perfect spheres, and Betelgeuse I just coloured in orange there as well. And basically that was going to be on both parts, but I looked at it and thought, nah, that's far too plain. So I moved it onto one and just put Orion in with some little sticky letters, and those are something I'm a big fan of, but I need to get some different coloured and different style letters, as you'll see in just a second. Oh, in fact, if we quickly flip back here, you may have noticed that on this one I used those silver letters to put where the heart is, and that's another cutting from one of the same newspapers. And that was intended to be like the main sort of theme of, well, this is home and where the heart is, etc. But obviously the silver doesn't stand out very well at all there. So if we fetch this back around. But what I think I should have done now is still add this across both pages, but put the names of each individual star in the letters to fill up the space. I think that would have been a much better idea, and I could of course put a little bit more detail in some of the little things that hang down from Orion's belt. Anyway, what I then randomly had was just a blank piece of paper with black and purple paint on it, and I'm not sure exactly what the idea was, whether it came from stars and space being so vast that I thought, room for one more star. And anyway, whatever happened, I basically put this on in yellow, which I'd have done the question mark in yellow too now. Started off red, then blue, but still doesn't stand out enough. But because obviously this was going on the very dark background, that has had about 4 different coats of yellow paint to get it to be that bright and vibrant. So that's definitely, well, all part of the learning process basically. What have we got here? Again, this was definitely a failed attempt from me. So this here was meant to be a general sort of, I don't know, trying to escape the rat race sort of, I don't know, the sentiment of basically trying to get away from it all and live a nice quiet life. And the background is just general binary digits that I thought I'd put in there. Then I sketched just in plain old pencil on paper, shirt and trousers. I painted another sheet of the canvas sketchbook all red, and my intention was to cut out of that various sort of almost blood effects coming from each of the openings of the clothes as a sort of general striking thing on an otherwise black and white page. But I didn't really like the way that they were turning out, so I thought, just leave it nice and simple. Then what I did was write on a roll of masking tape and keep tearing it off as I wrote. This is an Eminem line from an old song, 8 Mile Road, which was a nice little concept song that went along with 8 Mile the film, and it's just about the main character of that, which is basically Eminem, and his sort of struggle to break free of the daily grind, and it's just, please, I'm begging you God, please don't let me be pigeonholed in no regular job. Now, it may not be grammatically perfect, but I do very much like the sentiment, and it's something that I have felt myself feeling when in the past I wasn't sure what on earth my future was, and certainly didn't have a boat and all of the bizarre outdoorsy lifestyle that I do these days. Anyway, moving on to the final one that I've done for the moment, and this again is one of my great loves. There's no particular theme behind these, and I haven't sat down and done any of my proper detailed sketching, or well, not detailed, but what I consider my best sketching, which is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But I haven't done any of that in this yet, because I really wanted to just try out things like me watercolours and stuff like that for the first time in a long time. So all these are basically testing the waters at the moment, and this one here is based on another one of my loves, which is Roman history, and this is Alia Jacta Est, the die is cast, and that's basically the classic line that Caesar is meant to have said when he marched his army over the Rubicon River which is basically the official sort of act of civil war, and that's a big no-no in ancient Rome, basically. So let's not get into detail on that, please, or I'll never stop. So that's obviously the Latin, alia iacta est, and this is my expanded die, basically, which is why it's this cube shape, and that's the translation. The die is cast, once again in those sticky letters, this time being gold. Oh yeah, red and gold, classic Roman colours I'm sure you're familiar with. And this was just a general bit of watercolour painting that I was trying out and seeing how it all merged together on the paper. Like I say, I haven't used them properly for a very, very long time, and that was intended to be the Rubicon itself. But as you can see, it looks like a very tiny stream that I've painted on there. Anyway, it's all part of the learning process. So that's a very quick look at my first attempt at keeping an art journal. One of the things that I've really learnt is that if you're using a lot of thick acrylic paint, then obviously you're not going to be able to start working on another page for a while. You can put stuff down in there, but depending on what painting you've done, like you could put clean film, I suppose, over there, so it wouldn't get the pages stuck together, but there's a good chance you will smudge some of your actual work. But that's something that I've learnt, where I've been wanting to get on and do other things. I couldn't actually do it because I was waiting for stuff to dry overnight and things like that. And definitely I've learnt an awful lot from these first 2, maybe 3 weeks, and just being able to sit down and start painting away, no particular thing in mind, particularly the very first one where it was literally just a case of, right, let's just start painting and see what happens. Not sure really why I chose the colours or why I chose that general wording, but it's all part of the fun, and it's been thoroughly enjoyable to just sit down for an hour or two every now and then, playing me audiobooks or podcasts. Literally, it's almost like a very relaxing, calming therapy almost. And it's not as if I have the highest stress life in the world anyway. So, I'll say on that note, thank you very much for watching. Check out my other videos for a load more general sketchy bits and pieces and diary keeping. I keep, as you may know, an awful lot of proper diaries and try and do a few little drawings in there, but I'm no true artist at the moment. And I'll say subscribe, like the Facebook page, feel free to add me personally on Facebook and Twitter. And of course, if you're really interested in my life on a boat, check out my book, The Narrowboat Lad, or A Narrowboat and a Notebook. And until the next time, have a fantastic day, keep it painty, and until the next time, farewell.